Killer Track by Charlie Rich. Billboard, 1963. We're talking about that up-tempo blues record. He goes at it with great gusto, particularly when he enunciates certain parts of this record. I mean, the guy's got a little bit of blues going in his soul. Charlie Rich. Charlie Rich off the Groove record label, which was a subsidiary of RCA Victor. Now let's go to Billboard. Not Billboard's Hot 100, but bubbling under the Hot 100. There are 31 songs listed bubbling under the Hot 100, and coming in at number 112, Big Boss Man by Charlie Rich. Yeah, he's killing it. And this is before. This is before the countrypolitan Charlie Rich of the 1970s, when he was teaming up with producer Billy Sherrill doing songs. Billy Sherrill doing songs like Behind Closed Doors and The Most Beautiful Girl in the World. Now we're getting to some of the more, maybe the more raw version, the bluesy, not as slicked up version of Charlie Rich back in the early '60s. Big Boss Man, covered by Elvis too, the King. Elvis did the song in 1967, 68. Elvis took his version up to number 38. He did a killer version, so did Charlie Rich. A song originally done by Jimmy Reed. Blues Man, Jimmy Reed, 1960. Co-written by Luther Dixon, who co-wrote and produced records by the Shirelles back in the early '60s off the Skepta record label. Among his many achievements, by the way, Luther Dixon. But Jimmy Reed doing this record, a lot of people covered this record. Big Boss Man. Yeah. Sounds a lot like Elvis. Sounds like the King. That was the thing about Charlie Rich. You'd listen to a Charlie Rich record, if you didn't know it was Charlie Rich, you'd say, man, that's Elvis, man. That's the King. It's the man doing the blues. But it's Charlie Rich. Here's the thing about Charlie Rich. Sun record label. He made some records, demo records, demos for Sam Phillips. Sam Phillips listened to the demos. He said, Charlie, it's not commercial enough. It's too jazzy. Not rockabilly, buddy. But despite that, Charlie Rich became a session musician at Sun Records in the late '50s, playing on the tracks by Johnny Cash, Carl Mann. Carl Mann had a song out in the late '50s. My goodness, I can't remember the name of it right off the top of my head. Might have been early '60s. And there was another one. I mispronounced this, well, Ray Smith, among others, that he played sessions on Sun record label, late '50s. Now, after this demonstration, after he made these demos for Sam Phillips, it might have been Bill Justice, who was a arranger for Sun Records. He also put out some things with Sun Records too. But the story goes that he gave a stack of Jerry Lee Lewis records to either Charlie Rich or to his wife. And Bill Justice said, you come back when you get this bad. I'm not sure how to take that. It might have been bad in the sense that come back when you can rock and roll like the Killer. That might be one interpretation. But anyway, by 1960, Charlie Rich was front and center at last, recording for the Phillips International label, which was under the Sun Records umbrella, Lonely Weekend. Boy, you talk about sounding like the King. Sound like Elvis. He was channeling Elvis. Sort of a kind of a laid back but an up tempo rock and roll record of sorts. Lonely Weekend. Pretty big hit. Sold 1 million copies. 7 records that came after that bombed. Charlie Rich signs with RCA Victor with the Groove record label. He comes out with Big Boss Man. Yes. Got that blues. I'm thinking that Chet Atkins might have produced it, because Chet Atkins produced his follow-ups off the Groove record label, but the follow-ups didn't do anything. And Charlie Rich, he signed with Smash, the Smash record label, in 1965, and came out with Mohair Sam. Mohair Sam was one of Elvis's favorite records at the time. Elvis had that song in his jukebox. Mohair Sam. Yes. He played it for the Beatles. Remember reading that in the book? He played when the Beatles came to visit Elvis in 1965. He played that song for them on his jukebox, one of his favorite records. Hey, this is one of my favorite records. But guess who wrote that song? Oh, here, Sam. Dallas Frazier. Dallas Frazier, who did the original version of Elvira in 1966. I believe he was a member of the Hollywood Argyles, too, come to think of it. Of course, Elvira later became famous, real big for the Oak Ridge Boys in 1981. But I guess that's another story. But it's still about Charlie Ridge. And then you got the big comeback in the 70s, the strings, the silky voice of Charlie Ridge, the most beautiful girl in the world. But we're getting to the raw version, more of a grittier version of Charlie Ridge on this record. Big Boss Man, bubbling under Billboard's Hot 100 back in December 1963.